The Untold Story, How Lee Min-ho Comforted Song Hye Kyo During Her Hardest Days. A Question in the Dark. In the shimmering world of Hallyu, stars shine brightest when the cameras roll. We see the glamour, the red carpets, the perfect smiles captured by flashing lights. But behind the lens, away from the curated beauty, there are moments of silence, moments of loneliness, moments of struggle. And in one of those quiet, hidden seasons, Song Hye Kyo, one of the most enduring icons of Korean drama, faced some of the hardest days of her life. But she was not alone. Standing beside her, often quietly, often unseen, was another star, Lee Min-ho, the man whose name is synonymous with Hallyu itself, the man who carried her through shadows she never thought she would escape. This is their untold story, the burden of stardom. Song Hye Kyo's career has spanned decades. From Autumn in My Heart to Descendants of the Sun, she has been more than just an actress. She has been a cultural symbol, a face that defined eras, a name spoken with reverence across Asia. But fame is a double-edged sword. Every triumph magnified, every heartbreak dissected. In her hardest moments, there was no escape from the public eye. No chance to heal in silence. Every wound was reopened by headlines, every private sorrow turned into public spectacle. For Song Hye Kyo, the weight became unbearable. She smiled for cameras, but behind those smiles lay exhaustion, doubt, and a storm few could imagine. The unexpected friendship. Enter Lee Min-ho. At first glance, they seemed like two worlds apart. He, the king of a younger Hallyu wave, the unstoppable force behind Boys Over Flowers, The Heirs, and countless global campaigns. She, the timeless queen, a veteran whose name was carved in stone long before his career began. And yet, it was precisely in those differences that their bond was born. It began quietly, through industry events, polite greetings, and shared respect. But as the months went by, their conversations deepened. Behind the glitz, they found common ground, the loneliness of fame, the suffocating pressure of always being watched, the struggle to separate personal life from public identity. Lee Min-ho did not see her as Song Hye Kyo, the untouchable legend. He saw her as a woman, a human being, someone who needed not applause, but comfort. The hardest days. When Song Hye Kyo's life tilted into shadows, heartbreak, exhaustion, battles she faced quietly, she found herself retreating from the world. There were nights she could not sleep, mornings where the weight of expectation pressed down so heavily she wondered how she could go on. She tried to keep it hidden, for her fans, for her career, for the image of strength she had carried for decades. But Lee Min-ho saw through it. One evening, after a long event where she smiled through tears, he found her alone, sitting quietly in the corner of a hotel balcony, staring out at the Seoul skyline. She looked small, almost fragile, her world dimming around her. He didn't offer empty words. He didn't speak of fame or destiny. He simply sat down beside her, shoulder to shoulder, and said softly, "You don't have to be strong right now. Not with me." For the first time in weeks, she let the tears fall, a silent anchor. From that night on, Lee Min-ho became her anchor. When the press grew too loud, he shielded her with quiet presence. When the world demanded perfection, he reminded her that she was human first, a star second. He sent her books, poems, reminders of beauty beyond the chaos. He listened, truly listened, when she needed someone to hear her fears. Sometimes comfort is not in grand gestures. Sometimes it is in the stillness, in knowing someone will sit with you in the dark until the dawn comes. And that is what Lee Min-ho did. He sat with her, through silence, through tears, through long conversations that stretched until sunrise. A strength reborn. Slowly, Song Hye Kyo began to heal. Her laughter returned, first in fragments, then in full. She stepped back into the spotlight, not because the world demanded it, but because she had found her strength again. And at the heart of that recovery was a friendship that reminded her she was not alone. Lee Min-ho did not rescue her. He did not fix what was broken. What he did was more profound. He reminded her that she was enough, that she could stand again, not because the world wanted her to, but because she wanted to. Whispers and speculations. The world, of course, began to notice. Fans wondered why Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo were often seen at the same events, their exchanges warm, their respect for one another undeniable. Rumors swirled. Were they dating? Were they collaborating? But those closest to them knew the truth. It was not about romance. It was about something rarer. A friendship built in honesty, in vulnerability, in shared humanity. A bond that fame could not manufacture and gossip could not destroy. A legacy of comfort. Today, when fans speak of Song Hye Kyo, they celebrate her resilience, her elegance, her ability to rise from storms stronger than before. What most do not know is the role Lee Min-ho played behind the curtain. He never asked for credit, never spoke of it publicly. For him, it was simple. One star helping another star remember the light when the world grew dark. And perhaps that is the truest definition of comfort. Not in grand declarations, but in quiet loyalty. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. The untold story. The story of Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo is not one of scandal, not one of romance. It is a story of humanity. A story of how, even in the glittering, unforgiving world of fame, kindness still matters. In her hardest days, Song Hye Kyo found herself broken. But she also found a hand reaching for hers. And that hand belonged to Lee Min-ho. The rumors begin. It always begins the same way. One picture, one smile, one glance caught by cameras that were never meant to see it. When Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo began appearing at overlapping events, the industry buzzed. Their conversations seemed warmer, their laughter too genuine to be rehearsed. Paparazzi lenses lingered. Fans zoomed in on every detail, a hand on a shoulder, a look held a little too long. Are they just friends? The tabloids asked. Or is this the birth of Hallyu's most powerful couple? Neither confirmed, neither denied. And yet, silence only fueled the fire. The red carpet whispers. The 2025 Seoul International Film Gala. The night that changed everything. The red carpet shimmered with stars, diamonds, and dresses worth headlines. But the moment the world still talks about came when Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo arrived, not together, but close enough to feel the air shift. Reporters shouted their names. Flashes exploded. And then, as if scripted by destiny, Lee Min-ho reached out his hand, steadying her as she adjusted the hem of her gown. It lasted no more than a second. But in that second, the internet erupted. Millions of fans replayed the footage. Frame by frame. Look at how gently he touched her arm. Did you see the way she smiled at him? This isn't just friendship. By the next morning, hashtags had taken over social media across Korea, China, and beyond. The whispers were now screams. Behind closed doors. But what the world saw on carpets was only half the story. Behind closed doors, away from the glamour, their bond deepened in ways no headline could capture. Late-night calls, when Song Hye Kyo confessed her doubts about stepping into a new role. Lee Min-ho, reassuring her, reminding her of her brilliance. Private dinners, where they spoke not of scripts or contracts, but of dreams, the kind of dreams that belong to human beings, not just celebrities. They were not strategizing for publicity. They were surviving together, navigating an industry that demanded perfection while allowing little space for vulnerability. The fans divide. The fan world became a battlefield. On one side, millions cheered. They're perfect for each other. She deserves someone who protects her. He finally found someone who understands him. On the other side, skeptics and protectors. They're just colleagues. Don't turn friendship into scandal. She's been through enough, leave her alone. But perhaps what no one realized was that the truth was far simpler. It wasn't about labels. It wasn't about dating or not dating. It was about two souls finding comfort in each other's company. And sometimes, that is more profound than any romance. Collaboration whispers. Then came the rumor that shook the industry. Whispers spread that Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo were secretly considering a drama together, a project that would unite the king and queen of Hallyu on the same screen for the very first time. Fans lost their breath at the thought. Directors salivated at the possibilities. Streaming giants began preparing offers worth millions. Imagine it. Lee Min-ho, the eternal romantic hero, standing opposite Song Hye Kyo, the timeless goddess of K-drama. Their real-life bond bleeding into fiction. Their shared history giving gravity to every scene. If it happened, it would not just be a drama. It would be an event. A cultural earthquake. Strength reborn. Song Hye Kyo began to reemerge, stronger than before. On magazine covers, in interviews, her voice carried new weight. When asked about hardship, she no longer shied away. There were dark days, she admitted in one interview. But I learned that no one survives alone. We all need someone who listens, someone who stays. She never mentioned Lee Min-ho's name. She didn't need to. Her fans already knew who had stayed. And as she spoke, Lee Min-ho quietly watched from the sidelines, smiling, proud not of her fame, but of her resilience. A legacy written in silence. Years from now, fans will debate what truly happened between Lee Min-ho and Song Hye Kyo. Were they lovers? Were they simply friends? Were they something beyond words? The truth may never be spoken outright. But what matters most is this. When one of Korea's greatest stars stumbled, another reached out his hand. And in that small human act of comfort, history was made. Because sometimes the most powerful stories are not the ones written into dramas. They are the ones lived, quietly, in the shadows. The untold becomes eternal. The world may never fully know the depths of their bond. But the whispers, the red carpets, the laughter, and the comfort will live on in the hearts of fans who witnessed it. The untold story is no longer just rumor. It is a testament that even in the dazzling, unforgiving world of Hallyu, humanity still shines through. Lee Min-ho comforted Song Hye Kyo in her hardest days. And for that, their names will forever be linked, not just in fame but in grace.